Now moving to our fourth speaker, Bryan Mattimore from Growth Engine. And Bryan is going to talk about AI ideation and the total innovation enterprise. Bryan, how are you?
I'm great, Gerald. Thank you for having me as always. I want to share my screen here. Yeah, I want to talk about AI ideation and the total innovation enterprise. I know I need to do a little bit of level setting on both of these, but just quickly on my background, I've run a 23-year-old innovation agency, a boutique innovation agency based in Stamford, Connecticut, and we're asked by our clients to come up with new stuff. And I'll talk about how that relates to the total innovation enterprise in a second. And it could also be creativity training workshops, which are, you can imagine, they're tremendous fun. So let me level set here. Two kinds of innovation, innovating for growth, and Jim talked about this a little bit, and also efficiency and process innovation. And so, innovating for growth, that's probably 80% of our work in our innovation agency, new business models, new strategies, new products, of course, and even creative ways to do acquisitions, et cetera. And then the total innovation enterprise is the notion that we can use creativity to be much more efficient, right? And so this is cheaper, better, faster, et cetera. At the end of the presentation, I'll mention a way we've reinvented suggestion boxes to help everybody do that. So that's the level set on a total innovation enterprise. There are two facets to this, right? The second level set here is I need to talk about the different kinds of ideation techniques that we use. And we use dozens and dozens and dozens and literally hundreds when you customize them to the particular challenge that we're working on. The four areas of ideation are questioning techniques, metaphorical techniques, visual techniques, and fantasy techniques, right? So I'm going to hit four of these for you guys just with real world examples, okay? So the first one here, I want to talk about selling and how would you use these ideation techniques against selling challenges, and specifically, right, against and how you might incorporate ChatGPT or AI programs with that. All right. So we got a call. This was quite a few years ago from a company called Catholic Knights Insurance Company. They were asking us, how do we sell more life insurance to Catholics? And of course, you're saying they only sell to Catholics. And yes, they only sell to Catholics. They've been sued by the Jews and the Muslims and the Buddhists, but their charter is held up. And we went out there. We did a couple of days of ideation with them. And this was the big technique. This is the problem redefinition technique. And the way it works is you find a subject, a verb, and an object, okay? A subject, verb, and object in any sentence that you want to, your opportunity statement, if you will. So I'm using this for selling, but you could use it for anything. So step one is then to find the subject, verb, and object and say, well, who else could the subject be? Typically, it's the sales force, right? But now we're going to say, okay, what are other people and other helpers that could help us sell more life insurance to Catholics? And then you'll see there I listed about 10 of them. Now, this is where AI comes in. It can help you generate those, right? So you don't even have to generate these. You could say, give me 50 we's here. Okay, so that's on column one. Column two, your second prompt is come up with different ways to talk about selling. And you can see I've got more creative ways. I've got 10 there. But with AI, you could say generate 50 different ways to talk about selling. And then finally, the object in this sentence, there are actually two objects. One is life insurance and one is Catholics, right? But, they didn't want to change their life insurance offerings, so we focused on Catholics. And can you segment and think of Catholics as more than just Catholics? Well, you certainly can. Catholic doctors, Hispanic Catholics, et cetera, et cetera. And you could, again, generate 50 of those, let's say, with Chat GPT or other AI programs. Within those prompts, then you just say to them, I would like you to combine these, subject, verb, and come up with new sentences that would challenge us, okay? And so you'll see that, I've highlighted this. But by the way, if you have 50, 50, 50, what do we got? 125,000 different prompts you could use for your team, right? So here we go. So how could friends of Catholics be incentivized to sell life insurance to Catholic school families? And you'll see that I generated like 50 answers to this. I picked one in particular. Charitable contributions propose that a percentage of the proceeds from each policy sold will go towards supporting the Catholic schools, such as funding education materials or scholarships. This may motivate families to purchase policies knowing it supports their children board. And they could actually do this as private schools. And this is one of the, quote, big ideas that came out of our work. Now, again, this was before AI programs were used, but this came out of my prompts for AI. And that's a really interesting idea, of course. And so the net, when I worked with Catholic Knights, you know, the CMO wrote me 9 months later and said, well, we've increased our sales by 52%, right? So again, now you can use AI programs to help you generate these ideas. All right, so that's example one. All right, example two here, this is in this principal transfer area or metaphors. That was the second area of ideation techniques, right? And and by the way, this is the preferred modality of great inventors throughout history. They transfer principles. Colt invented the six-shooter revolver when he saw the clutching mechanism on a wheel turning, right? Or, there are just hundreds and hundreds of these examples. So anyway, the TRIZ triggers, we use those a lot for our engineering clients, and we're trying to solve manufacturing issues of efficiency and come up with better ideas. But if you put into ChatGPT or any of the other programs, you'd say, I'd like you to take the 40 TRIZ triggers and use them to come up with new product ideas, right? And so these are great. By the way, these triggers came from Gerald Altshuler. He was a Russian who hired a team of researchers. They went through 250,000 patents, and from that generated these 40 principles that they used to come up with new ideas. All right, so I just did 8 of these so you could see them. I picked the 7th one, the nesting principle, that this is the doll within a doll, the Russian doll within a doll within a doll, and place an object inside another, place the latter inside a third object, and so on. And I was curious if this would work with a non-engineering challenge. And so I picked a challenge from one of our clients. This is Chips Ahoy. We had done work with them along with Oreo cookies. They're owned by Mondelez. And so here's what ChatGPT did. It said, I said, create 6. Actually, it was a lot more than that. It was dozens, but create 6 new Chips Ahoy product ideas using this nesting principle, doll within a doll thing. And you'll see I've listed 6 here of the many that came up: brownie butter blast, double chocolate layers, confetti cookie, s'mores adventure, red velvet marble, and root beer float. Of the dozens and dozens and dozens that came out, why did I pick those 6? Well, I picked those 6, ta-da, because these are all products that were marketed as a result of our work. This started, we used a semantic intuition technique, and that generated the brownie-filled Chips Ahoy cookie. But when the Mondelez scientists, food technologists, and manufacturing people were able to figure out how to put a layer inside of a brownie cookie, it became obvious then, so what else could we put in there? So this became a powerful, if you will, platform for them, right? But all of these ideas, I picked these 6 because they were all, if you will, anticipated by the ChatGPT output, all right? The next example, this is in the world of fantasy techniques. We're getting into advanced brainstorming here a little bit. These are some of the techniques we use. I'm going to actually focus on the silly idea technique. This we derive from the worst idea technique, where you come up with bad ideas and use them to trigger, quote, good ideas as stimulus. The ASPCA had called us in New York and said, can you, is amazing, can you help us to get New Yorkers to adopt ex-drug dealer pit bulls? I won't go into the full story about that, but talk about a marketing challenge, right? So anyway, we've used the silly idea on that and came up with some great ideas. You know, dress them up in costumes and they'd be more likely to be adopted, et cetera, et cetera. Do virtual adoptions, then people will be more likely to adopt. But on this one, I thought, well, let's use the silly idea technique to generate new sustainability ideas. Okay. And I was curious if it would edit itself, and it doesn't even edit itself on silly ideas or worst ideas. If you look at number 4, you know, use fart-powered energy generators. I thought it might get rid of that because it's not, you know, politically correct. And then the idea, of course, is investigate the potential of harnessing, you know, biogas from livestock or waste treatment facilities to generate renewable energy in a unique and an unconventional way. But you can see, and again, dozens and dozens and dozens of these ideas. So the notion here is take ideation processes and mash them up to get better questions that you're asking ChatGPT and other AI programs. So here's a fantastic example, in my opinion. This is based on real world challenge. We were asked by another snack food company, not Mondelez, to help them invent new products in their category. And I went into that session with 2 AI exercises. One where I had new forms that were generated. I went in with 400 ideas around new forms. And then I also went with 400 ideas on new flavors. Very successful, terrific session, great. But when I got home, I said, I wonder how far I can push this program, right? I wonder how far I can push this program to, you know, with ChatGPT and AI. And so I said, well, let me come up with 10 different criteria that we could have used in the session. So create 5 new plant-based, healthier, handheld, baked, on-the-go breakfast snacks for kids to compete with Pop-Tarts inspired by French cuisine. Those 10 criteria, and I frankly thought the program would either blow up, you know, my computer would start smoking, or it would say, you know, forget it, pal, we're not doing it. And yet, this is what happened. And so you'll see number 2, nutty croissant roll-ups, taking inspiration from the classic French croissant. These roll-ups are made with flaky whole grain pastry filled with plant-based nut butter and a touch of fruit jam rolled into convenient handheld shape. They're perfect for on-the-go breakfast, right? I mean, this is pretty incredible, right? So the point here, and this gets into what Josh had said, this prompt stacking, the specificity is really good and really important. Because Gerald asked me to talk about my books, I will. By the way, these are free resources. They'll give you more, you know, creative techniques to solving impossible challenges. I'll go into more detail on some of that stuff. My TEDx talk. The Better Suggestion Box program is on whiteboarding. Also how to develop ideas with billboarding. These are all articles that are available and you can check out. These are some of my books. The Islands of Invention book will come out in the fall. That's how to do better innovation centers. Idea Stormers is kind of the master work on ideation processes. And 21 Days to a Big Idea was just, I don't know how, but it was picked as one of the 60 best business books by 4-minute books. And that's really an exercise, a daily exercise program to come up with big ideas. All right, so here we go. These are the 2 AI-assisted books that Gerald asked me to mention and talk about. Quirks and Quotes. Quirks is available in 4 formats on Amazon, you know, Audible, Kindle, etc., paperback, hardback. That one, I basically got a quirk of famous people, 40 quirks, you know, these are all true. Abraham Lincoln was a trash-talking wrestler, right? Or John Quincy Adams wanted to dig for mole people, etc. George Washington was a whiskey entrepreneur, etc. And so then I had them, you know, AI said, write a song, write a poem, write an essay, etc. And that's what that book is. So it's really fun, right? This new book, Quotes, which will come out next week on Amazon, I think is really great. I guess I'm a tad biased, but I took 41 quotes and I said, okay, take a quote. So George Patton's quote was, never tell people how to do things, tell them what to do, and they will surprise them with your ingenuity. Then I said to George Patton, I said, well, why did you say this? And there's a wonderful essay about why he said this. And then this is the creative, really creative part. I said, what are some creative ways we as leaders can embrace Patton's idea about leadership at work. And so I curated probably 50 ideas from ChatGPT, and, there are 10 in the book. Micro projects, assign small, non-critical projects, or cross-disciplinary mentoring, or shadow boards, or blindfolded brainstorming, which is based on the Gordon technique, et cetera. So the results of this were fantastic, right? And then the last part of this, which is really fun, is I had famous people talk about this quote and how they might have used it in their life. So Golda Meir, Jonas Salk, or Disney, Da Vinci, and Einstein. So that's the preview of those books that Gerald asked me to share. I'm done. My time is done. The last thing I want to share, I said, well, I've got to come up with a quote for my talk. And my quote is that, the genie is out of the bottle. And we as people now have to become better wishers. And frankly, the wonderful thing is we're not limited to 3 wishes. So that's it, Gerald. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Bryan. You covered a lot of territory and great ground. Thank you. And it was good to get a glimpse inside of a professional ideation consultant. And I think there's a future for technology-enhanced ideations. And I hopefully will find a pool of ideators that can provide a service of that type in the future.